understand. All right. Um, Great. So let's move. So today we're looking at advanced variants. I mean, advanced components, right? I think that's the right word. So advanced components. We want to, in addition to what we've done in previous class, we want to do something more advanced in terms of these components, right? We want to create more complicated. It's going to get simple by the time you're done learning it. But for now, we can term it as more complicated components, right? I sent you a job description where you saw that one of the requirements was that you should be able to make components. But why? Why is that a requirement? Please put your microphone on mute. Um, I think that should be Mr. Sammy. I think it's Mr. Sammy. I think I'll just wait for you here. Alright.
The new without purpose.
Um, okay. Sorry about that. So, what exactly are we talking about? Like, why do we need these components? Why is it a requirement for most jobs? You know, some people don't want to go straight into designing, right? They want to start with the little things that will actually make up the design at the end, the long run. For example, the button. Let's say, for example, we want to have a button, right? So let's say, okay, yes, we want to have a button. We want the size of the button text to be 16, right? Then we want the font to be, let's say, Poppins or let's say Sacramento, right? For example, this is just for example. Now, you want to know, okay, this is my button, this is not my button here, this is just a text. So if I put it in auto layout, you know the way we use auto layout to create buttons now, because you've gone further than creating buttons with rectangles, right? So let's say this is the color we want to use, and then padding left and right, let's say we want to give it like 32, and then up and down is okay at 10, you could reduce it to 8. Final radius you could just like 12, might be a bit too much. Let me see what it's going to look like. I think that's okay. But let's say that this is your button, right? But what you're designing is a website. So imagine that, okay, you have an instance. Remember, we've talked about instances before, where the user comes and he hovers on your button. See what's happening here when I'm hovering. You see that Figma is giving me a setting design to show that I'm hovering on this guy. And when I click on it, it stays there. When I click on it, it stays there even if I move my mouse. So how many instances can you find here? The first instance is what it is without any interaction. The second instance is when you hover on it, and then the third instance is when you click on it. So now you want to design, but you want to create a design system first. Let's say particularly for buttons, because we are going to be using buttons for this particular class. So you want to create a button, right? You say, okay, this is your default button, and then remember when we talked about carbon system, um, we did carbon system buttons one time, but I don't think we did it in depth because that is supposed to be that's supposed to come up later on when we're discussing probably discussing design styles in depth. But we did carbon design buttons where we talked about five types of buttons that carbon design actually recommends. So let's say this one is going to be a different color. I'm totally ignoring carbon design system here. I'm just doing something entirely different. So let's say we have this and this. Maybe I'll just give it a little bit of green. Let's have green because of Nigeria, green, Nigeria. This one Nigeria's green. Hold on, I need to find Nigeria's green. Let's see. You know that our flag, the green is to shake sometimes. Alright, so let's say that these are the two buttons that we have. Let's say the name of this button is going to be, let's say this is my primary button. And then let's say this one here is my secondary button. This is for example, right? Now, all of you here already know that um, we make these guys components so that we can use them anywhere and change the colors at once from the mother or the parent component. When a woman gives birth, when she bears a child, right? That child becomes a replica of the woman's maybe the woman's facial expressions with the man, of course, there must be a man involved. There should be a man involved, of course. So the child becomes a replica of what the parents had to offer, right? So if, for example, this button started creating more buttons that were like children, if the parent changes something in Figma, the children should change as well. Because imagine you use this button 20 times in one design, and all of a sudden your client comes and it's like, this color is not the actual color we want to use. We want to make use of something like this. You want to make sure that every other place that you use this button will change to this, so that you don't have to go here, find color, go here, find color. That's the essence of these components, right? Basically, that's the essence of components. Now, and components make it easier to use to actually design with components. Is easy to design with components, right? Because it will just be very easy for you to call them out and use them whenever you feel like using them, right? So let's just move into it. Right? So I'm just going to take this guy back to blue. I prefer the blue to this color that I'm seeing here. I think somewhere around here. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to repeat what I did on I'm going to repeat what I did in the last component variant class, right? So what did I do? I basically just selected both of them. I came up here and I clicked on this drop down arrow and I said create multiple components. When you click on it, you come over here, you click on combine as variants, right? That's what we did. And then I said rename the component to button. Then I said for you to find your components to use them, you need to come to assets and just drag it here. You have to just drag it here onto your workspace to use it. Now watch this. If for example I've used this button like let's say 200 times, right? And then all of a sudden I have to change color, I can just come here and I will change the color of the mother and the children are going to change as well. This is why we make the components, right? So that we don't have to deal with all the workload that comes with corrections or revisions. You understand? We don't have to do all of that. It just makes it easy for us, even way more easy for us. I'm going to delete these guys. Equally, you can just come over here, hold alternates, I think option for MacBooks, and then you just drag this guy. It's just the same thing as pulling it from here. But I prefer you pull it from assets here because usually when you are done making components, you would usually put them on a new page. Like you might just have a dedicated page for components. You cannot have them on the same page where you're designing. You understand? So usually it's on a new page. The way I do my own is I usually have a rectangle above under my component. So that's how I make my components neat. You understand? Because I like to make clean design, right? So I make my components neat by putting a rectangle just underneath there. If I could show you designs, I would, but I do not want to infringe on certain NDAs that I may have signed because most of my projects are live projects, some still being developed, some existing. But I do not want to show you what the backend actually is because of certain documents that have been signed. But let's push. So let's say that this is what we have. I'm going to remove this guy just so that we can see this guy clearly. This is what you did in the last class, and that's fine. That no, this is okay. This is fine. It's okay, right? But now we are going to do something entirely different. I'm going to come here and delete this, and I'm going to start the whole thing again. But this time, I'm going to be making use of a little bit different flow to it. You understand? Probably go for my blue again. I think this was 32, and this I put 8, and then this I put 8 as well. So this is button number 1. So I might just keep it somewhere around here. And then I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to say this one here is going to be like my second one. Then I'm gonna come over here and change the color just down a bit to Nigeria green, right? I think that was what we did a few minutes ago. So what do we want to do next? What we're going to do next is this: select both of them, and this time you're not going to click on create multiple components. This time you're going to say create component set, right? Create component set. And I'll show you why in a moment. So click on create component set, and you've basically done component set. This is just like a faster way instead of you saying create variants. Um, Create all the components combine as variants. This is just like okay, yeah, make it a set. So definitely whatever is inside of that set becomes a variant of each other. You understand? This is like faster way. Now what's next thing I want to do here? I want to do something because you notice that aside from variant, when I click on this plus, we have boolean, instant swap, and text. And these are the four things that I want to discuss today with you. Now, variance is okay. You already know what it is. Creating a variance is no big deal to anybody here. But how about we go for something else now? And I think the one I'm going to start with is, let me see. Okay, so there's something I'm going to do now. Just follow me. So I'm going to come over here. I want to create more variations of these buttons, right? This is variant 3 and this is variant 4, right? So this one here, let's assume that I'm going to um, change the color down a bit. Let us say that this button here is the hover interaction of this one. So let's say that that first blue is actually the when the button is active, when the button is saying, "Oh, click me," and then this second one is when the button has been hovered on. Let's say that is what this one is. So from here, this is what you get what you get when you hover on it. Or maybe we can just do make it uniform. I can just reduce the opacity here. Let's say 50%. Yep. So I'll click on this one to reduce opacity here 50%. Yeah. So when I click on this, let me get this. When I click on this, when I hover on this, let me get this. When I hover on this, let me get this. You understand what I'm trying to do? I'm sure you understand. You're smart. So when I do something, when I click on this one here to see what is named, you can see clearly that it's being named as variant 4, right? It's being named as variant 4, and this one is actually variant 3, right? So what we want to do is, we now to see if I think there's something I want to. Okay, so what we want to do now is this. We're going to come back to these first two because these guys are like our default, right? Default, primary, default, secondary, right? So we have to name them because here I can see they are called name frame one, and this is called frame two because we used auto layout to remember. So I'm just going to come here and call this one um, primary, and then I'm going to come over here and call this one secondary, right? Then the next thing I want to do is I want to click on the both of them, and then I want to come over here and I want to name them. I want to give them a property, right? So I'm just going to call this type. Why am I calling it type as a property? Because what type of button is this? This is I'm going to call this primary and this what type of button is this? Call it secondary, right? These two are like subs of these guys. So these are like our main types. You understand that? So type, basically that's it. So if we go and check what the button is going to give to us now, you can see that instead of having that property one that was there, now we have type, right? Because I renamed the property one to what? To type, right? And then you can see that we're going to have four types here, which is primary, secondary, variant 3 and variant 4, which are these two under here. I've not named them, right? So I hope you're not confused. If you want, I can start this again. I can actually start this again if you think um you you did not catch up with something. So I'm just going to ask questions. Drop a comment in this the chat session if you want me to start it again or you want me to proceed from here. Drop a comment. Let me see if you want. If we have like maybe four people saying please start again, we'll do. All right. So I have two people saying start again. I just need two more people to agree with starting again, and then we'll go through it again. All right. So Samuel Kali says you can't. Okay. One more person and we start it again. Okay, so that's four people saying start again. So we're just gonna go start again, right? Five people saying start again. Have you six? Don't use six. Now, wow, myself, and I get mine though. Okay, so I'm just gonna start it again. So T for text, you can see the asset is not empty because I basically deleted all the components. So bottom, right? Sacramento. Then shift A to make it auto layout. You know all this much already. I'm just gonna come over here and get this button in there, and then I'm going to do canary resolve 8. So left to right was 32, up to down was 8. We had this, and then I basically just duplicated it to get the secondary button, right? You can see the name is frame 2, frame 1. So that's why it was taking that particular name in the guide, in the component set, right? So I'm just going to take on the two of them, come over here and say create component set, right? Part 1. Next thing I want to do is what? Click on this and this. I want to rename them first before I bring this other two for the hover. So if I click on this, I come over here, I'm just going to call this primary. Then if I click on this and come over here, I'm going to rename this one as secondary. Secondary, yeah. So what I want to do next is, oh, what type? Because I need to make sure I deal with this property one. Remember, I told you that you got to rename it as type. Because what type of button is this? So we're giving it a name. We're naming that property one as type, right? So when you do that, the next thing we want to create is okay, two other instances for when the buttons have been hovered on, right? So I'm just going to click on the both of them, and you know what I'm doing to get here, alternate click drag, right? So what I want to do next is okay, since we've renamed these guys, so I just want to turn down the color of these guys a bit to indicate a hover state. So when they hover on this button, this is what it should give us. And when they hover on this button, this is what it should give us. So you see how I'm creating the instances even before I start designing. Let's say I was going to design. I'm just trying to know the buttons I'm using so that I don't have to start thinking about buttons while I'm designing. Right? So what I want to do next, look at this now because this is where I stopped. You see, I just did it in less than, I think it's less than 2 minutes. I've gotten back to where I was. As I said, I can always start it afresh. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to still call this guy primary. Watch, when I name this guy primary, you're going to see an error message here. What's the error message? It's saying this. It's speaking in English. The properties and values of these variants are conflicting. Big grammar for us. Change the applied values on this variant to resolve this. What they're basically saying is that how can you name this variant, then this variant primary and name this one primary? You see, secondary does not have any issues until I name this one secondary. Watch this. So when I name this guy secondary, now you see both of them have issues, just the same issues that this guy actually has, rather. But what are you going to do now? This is what you're going to do. You're going to click on the both of them. That is, uh, you're going to click on. Okay, I think the easiest way to do this would be you're going to click on the component sets here. Remember, I said we should rename this to button. Right? So let me rename this to button. When you click on it, you come over here, click on the plus um, icon here for create component property, right? And then you're going to go for, wait, hold on. It is this one we want to work on now. I'm trying to make it easy to understand. Um, I just want to make it easy to understand. So if this are the hover, I don't want to just come over here and draw prototypes. That one is more like the basic level, right? So why is this saying type 4? Sorry, this should be secondary, right? So I think that is it. Okay, so this is attached to this and this is attached to this, right? So what we're going to do is come over here and say that this one is going to be our hover interaction, but hold on. I don't want to approach it from here. I want to approach it from there. So maybe we should do the other ones first before we can see here. Because I don't want to approach it from that angle. If I was, I don't know if I'll be able to explain before I do this other three. So just hold on. Let me see. It will be easy to explain this one right away. Hold on. Alright, so maybe I should go over it first, then I'll go to Boolean and the rest, right? So let's go over it. So this is where we stopped, where you have this guy, name them the primary and secondary you have on these two guys, right? So what you're going to do next is click here on the component sets entirely, then go for the plus. So we're going for variants, right? So when you click on variant now, it brings you to this place. So what you're just going to put here is hover. We're going to have the hover property now. Remember the first one we had was type. Now this one here we want to create the hover property value here, just click type false, right? Type false. Yes. So type false and click enter to create property. Then the next thing you want to do is, and yes, I might do this again. I can do this again. So next thing you want to do is click this tool, then come over here to where you've created your hover property, which is a new variant, and just type true, which means that these two guys are the true state of the hover interaction, whereas these two are false. Do you understand that? I can do this again. Let me just show you what it's going to be like at the end. If I come to assets and I drag out one of the buttons, so when I come here, now you see a toggle for hover and not hover. So you see true and you see false. You see true and you see false. So that's basically, so you see secondary likewise, false, true, the same thing. So I'm going to take it again, right? Just to make sure, that you fully understand. I told you this is going to be an interesting class. Yes. So please explain why we need to type false, because we just want to create like a statement. We want to give a statement of how do I put this now? A statement of that instance, right? We want to tell it that okay, do this. It's false. You can equally type true if you want to. But I type false because I am setting the false to off and I'm setting the true to on. Do you understand? So that's why I type false first, okay? Because I got your question. So I'm going to recap again, and probably I'm going to start it from scratch. I'm sure that you guys actually enjoy the fact that I don't have issues with starting from scratch. So we're going to start with Boston, but this time with the capital B from Sacramento. Then we're going to have the field set to I'm gonna use another color. I'm bored with that color. So I'm gonna use something like yellow, and then we're gonna spread the guy to flip the two and this guy to eight, right? And then corner this to let's say like eight, right? So we're gonna have two variants for the sake of variant sake. So this one here is gonna be a different color of red, right? And that's good to go. So selecting the both of them and creating component sets, you know this much already, right? So what was the next thing I did after having created this component set? I went straight to name the property to type, because in the frames, this one here, I want to name it primary, as you know, B is a primary boy. Then I want to name the red secondary, as in Ada is a secondary school student, right? The next thing I want to do is I selected both of them. Okay, let me start with showing you what we've done so far. So this one, just with the type we created, you can see there is only one, right? So we only have two types, primary and secondary. We can swap the buttons anywhere in the world. I mean, anywhere we use it on this file, right? So I'm going to delete this. So next thing we want to do is create the hover instance or the hover component, right? For our buttons still. So ignore this. What you want to do is, first thing I want to do is tone down the color a bit to 50%. That is to show the global interaction. And then likewise this one 50%. Then next thing I want to do is name this one this name, because you want to attach this one to this one. If you don't name this one this name, you will not attach it. It won't be able to not be attachable. You understand? It's going to be unavailable. Rhymes. I know I have pride. It's rhymes. Don't take it too hard. Now, so giving the name stuff, we're gonna come here and name this guy primary still, right? So when we do that, we have the conflicting error here, but ignore it. And then secondary, same thing, ignore it. So what they're going to do next is click on the components here, rename this one to button, right? Because I always tell you to rename it, because that's it's going to make it easy for you to search it from here when you have multiple components. I wish I can share my screen and show you the amount of components I create for massive designs. It's a lot. Alright, so what you want to do next as the responsible people that we are is what are we doing next? Let me see. Right. So click on the button here to select everything, because you want to make sure that all of the components is selected, right? Then you come over here. Now we are starting with variant. Remember that these ones are also variants. You can see we have four variants existing, but now we want to create a different variant. The reason is because we want to create a different property aside from type, which in this instance is what? Hover, right? So you just want to come over here, click on her, and click on background, and then here you're gonna say the name is hover, and then the value here Instead of default, you're gonna have false, right? I'm gonna come here and say false. So hover, false, create property, and you're not yet done. Now you need, if you have set a hover to false, it means that everything here is on false. What do I means? What I means is that if I come over here, you see that we only have false. Everything on a false. Everything is in false. So what you want to do is set true, because this is your true hover interaction state. So you select the both of them and you come over to the hover for false and just say true. Now when you do that like the good person that you are, you now have um this hover radio button here, toggle rather, this toggle, to swap between your primary and secondary hover or active states. It's as simple as that. It's not difficult. I can do it again if you want me to do it again. I enjoy showing you guys to an extent that I'm sure that okay, you're there, right? So I'm going to ask one more time. Do you want me to do this again? So this time I need five more comments that I should take it again, and I will. Five more. So I have one from Franklin, right? So one from Franklin. I'm just going to give 10 seconds to this thing. So 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second there. So that's two, and 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 zero. So I think we had just two people saying do it again. But I will not be doing this again because I feel like it is you have understood it. All you just need to do is go to the video one more time. So we have to move, right? Let's fly, let's fly, let's fly. So the next thing is remember all we've done so far is variants. We've not touched any of this, right? It's just variants. That's why you can see that we have only two properties here, type and hover. And that's why you can see that when I bring up my button, I only have I only have the type and the hover properties to work with, right? But what if I want to create another one? So the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to start with go next to I'm going to be creating a text property, right? So what does this text property actually mean and what does it do? So I'm just going to come here and there's a faster way to doing this, but let me see. Okay, there's a faster way to doing this, but I'm trying to see if okay, let's do this. So come over here and click on the text here. That is the button, right? Because it's a text property. So I want to show you what the text property does. So when you click on this one, you need to select all the four of them, right? You need to select the four of them. So one, two, three, four. But you can do it fast. There's a faster way to do it. When you select one, look for this. There's this icon at the bottom of your selection that says select all four matching layers because it has seen that the four texts match themselves. If I click on that, that selected the four buttons, right? When it does that, the next thing you want to do is come over to the right part of the Figma and then look for where you have content button and you have something like this here that actually says create text property, right? So create text property. If we had created the text property first and we came here, we would see it existing anyways. But this one is easier because here you don't have to think it's complicated. All you just got to do is click on this create text property here, and then here you can say text and what's the value. The value is the text that is inside the button. Let's say it's going to be let's say sign up, right? And then you say create property. What is going to happen? All the texts have gone to sign up. And here you can see that we have a text property now. But but where are you going to see it? Where are you going to use it? Look at this. When I click on this button, which is the button I got from assets, you can see that I now have type over and I have text, right? So if I come here and change the text to this is a button, right? You can see that it has adjusted automatically to that, but that's because the auto layout is hugging, right? We already know that that's because these guys are hugging here. We discussed that in previous classes, yeah. But this text property here is just it's a simple one to use, but it's you use it when you want to make sure that everything about your button is in that component. You understand? You don't want to have to type something outside and bring it in here, or you don't want to basically go inside of here and type. You can just make sure that everything you're doing is based on your components here. It's a more professional way to go about designing. You understand? So that's why the okay, so that's why the components are there, right? That's why the components are there. So what we got onto now? The next one I want to do is, well, I think this is getting interesting. So the text component is not difficult at all. Like if you understood the text components, what you're gonna do for me? Drop a yes in the comment section so I know that the text